Hello, I'm Avis Kalfsbeck, and this is the Peace is Here podcast. Welcome to Peacewarts, School of Peacecraft and Inquiry, where we practice the skills of peace through short daily classes. We take the peace work seriously, but not ourselves. If you're joining us mid-school year, you're not late. Orientation begins at episode 198. Welcome back, Peace Scholars. This is the Department of Living Roots 101 in the garden. Today we're standing near the storage bins in the potting shed. If you look at these bins, they appear to be half empty. In a traditional economy, that site is designed to trigger a specific biological response, fear. In this department, we call this the scarcity script. Mahatma Gandhi, the leader of the Indian independence movement and a pioneer of nonviolent resistance, once said, "There is enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed." The concept, the scarcity script. Our lesson today is about identifying how shortages are manufactured or manipulated to sell the necessity of war. We are taught that the world is a place of fundamental lack, that there isn't enough land, food, or energy to go around. We are told that because of this natural scarcity, we must compete, we must hoard, and ultimately we must go to war to secure our fair share. But as peace scholars, we have to ask, who wrote the script and what are they selling? To understand this, we must look at the mechanical reality of how resource scarcity is staged. The history, the fence, and the fertilizer. To understand modern scarcity, we have to look back at the Enclosure Acts in 18th and 19th century England. Before these acts, land was the commons. People had a multi-species treaty with the soil that allowed them to graze, forage, and farm together. The Enclosure Acts literally fenced the land off, turning a shared abundance into a private shortage for the many. This forced people into cities to become labor for the industrial military complex. Scarcity was not a failure of the soil, it was a policy of the fence. In the period we call the Great Disarmament, scholars began to look closely at the Haber-Bosch process. This is the chemical breakthrough that allows us to pull nitrogen from the air to create both fertilizer and explosives. Because we moved away from the law of return, using compost and crop rotation, and toward this industrial dual-use technology, we created a permanent artificial scarcity. If a nation is denied access to synthetic nitrogen, its food system collapses. This threat of shortage is used to justify military alliances and the buildup of naval power to protect shipping lanes. We aren't fighting for food, we're fighting for the chemicals that replaced our healthy soil. This culminated in the mid-20th century. In 1974, at the World Food Conference, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Earl Butz famously said, "Food is a weapon. When a central power controls the script of scarcity, they can create artificial lean years by withholding grain to force political compliance. We must learn to distinguish between a biological drought and a logistical embargo." The thesis. The yield gap. The scarcity script relies on the myth that the earth simply cannot support its population. However, scientific data on the yield gap, the difference between what land could produce under regenerative care versus extractive monoculture, shows that we don't have a production problem, we have a distribution and waste problem. Currently, roughly 1/3 of all food produced globally is lost or wasted. In a scarcity script, this waste is ignored because a surplus would drive prices down and make the necessity of war harder to sell. In the Department of Living Roots, we believe that peace requires us to move from a price-based economy to a calorie-based ecology. We teach that abundance is the natural state of a healthy planet, and scarcity is usually just a fence that needs to be dismantled. Your homework. 1. Look up the Enclosure Acts and read a summary of how they changed the common land system in England. 2. Write down one question about any of this episode's topics. If you don't have a question, write no question. 3. Optional. Journal for 5 minutes about a shortage you see in the news today. Gas, food, or water. Is it a biological shortage of the earth or a logistical shortage of the fence? As you leave the greenhouse today, remember the worm never worries about scarcity because it lives in a world of total reallocation. It knows that what one system calls waste, another system calls wealth. Until our next class, keep your feet in the living roots. Class dismissed. Thank you for listening. Did you know that the stuff we buy can contribute to world conflicts? It's true. My new book, Peace Stuff Enough, is out now to help us keep our stuff longer and buy less stuff, because peace starts in our homes. If you'd like to support the Pieces Here podcast, the most helpful way is to follow it wherever you're listening. It helps me share the message with others. You can also support this piecework at my Patreon for about what a used paperback goes for these days. Just go to Patreon at patreon.com/Avis Kalfsbeck. That's AVISKALFSBEEK. You can find all of my peace projects and stay in touch at aviskalfsbeck.com. Music is by Javier Peque Rodriguez. Sound effects are from Pixabay. Regarding peace, we need not delay or despair. We are not late. We are right on time to love. We are all scholars of peace. Listen for the peace.